Tonight I'm making a French bistro omelet, and I'm going to serve that with some bruschetta and a beet salad. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start on the bruschetta. And what I have here is some slices of bread. It's just a rustic Italian bread that I've sliced up and put on a cookie tray with parchment paper. And what I'm going to do to that is I'm going to drizzle it with olive oil. I'm going to flip the bread slices over and do the same thing on the other side. Then I'm going to grab a brush and just brush the olive oil, have an even layer on the bread. Doesn't have to be exact. I just want to get as much of the surface area covered as possible. And then we're just going to pop it into a 350-degree oven for about 10 or 15 minutes until it's golden brown and toasted. So we will check on that in a few minutes. And while that's cooking, we'll get started on the bistro omelet. To a cast iron skillet, I am going to add a tablespoon of olive oil. Just swirl that around. And I'm going to let that warm up. And to that, I am going to add some bacon, because what this is going to be is a bacon and potato and chive omelet. So what I have here is, this is about 4 thickly sliced pieces of bacon, about 1-inch dice. So the olive oil is smoking, so I'm going to add the bacon. And I'm going to cook the bacon over medium heat until it's brown but not crisp. Okay, the bacon is now brown, and I'm going to take it off the heat. And with a slotted spoon, I'm going to remove it to a plate lined with paper towels to soak up the grease. Okay, I'm going to put the pan with the bacon fat back on the stove. And to that, I'm going to add the potatoes. And I'm going to saute the potatoes in the fat. until they are tender and have crisped up a little bit. The potatoes have been cooking away for about 5 minutes, and as you can see, they're starting to get nice and brown. And I think we have probably another 5 minutes to go. So while they're cooking, we'll check on the bruschetta. It's nice and toasty on top, and the bottom, oh, it's nice and golden brown. That's perfect. So what I'm going to do is turn them over. Pop them back in the oven so the other side can get nice and golden brown. So I'll check those. In about another 5 to 10 minutes. Our potatoes have been cooking now for about 10 minutes, and as you can see, they've gotten really nice and golden brown, like hash browns. And that's exactly what we're going for here. And if I check them with a fork, they are fork tender. So as I did with the bacon, I'm going to take this off the heat, and with a slotted spoon, I'm going to remove the potatoes to the same dish where I had the bacon. Okay, now I am going to, while those cool for a bit, I'm going to drain the bacon fat from the frying pan, wipe it down, and then turn to the eggs. Okay, so while the bacon and the potatoes are to one side, we will prepare the egg mixture for our omelet. And as I showed you earlier, I have 6 large eggs in a bowl, and to that I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of half and half. 1, 2, 3. You don't want to add too much milk or cream to an omelet because it'll make it watery. And I'm going to now add about a teaspoon of salt, and half a teaspoon of black pepper, and I'm going to whisk that. And that's our egg mixture. So I'm going to now check on the bruschetta. That's perfect. The other side is now golden. So I'm going to let those cool a bit while we work on the omelet. I've got my stovetop on low. And my frying pan back on the heat. And I'm now going to add that tablespoon of butter to the frying pan and let that melt. So I'm now going to add the egg mixture to the pan. And then to that, I'm going to add back the potatoes and bacon, just trying to sprinkle them evenly throughout the omelet. Okay, so now we are going to sprinkle some chives on top just to give it an oniony flavor without being too strong. And I'm just going to let it cook on the stove for really about 2 minutes on low before I put it in the oven. Okay, the omelet has been on the stove for about 2 minutes, and it's just beginning to cook right around the edges. So now is the time for it to go into a 350-degree oven for about 10 minutes or until the eggs are cooked and it's puffed and golden. So while our omelet is in the oven cooking, I'm going to finish the bruschetta. All you do to finish it off is cut some garlic cloves in half and rub them all over the hot bread. Basically just grating the garlic over the bread so all the garlic oil gets in. I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper. And that's it. I will just plate it up. And I'll show you how we're going to serve our omelet. While we wait for our omelet to cook, I will show you what I'm going to be serving with it. As we just completed, I have a plate of the bruschetta. And I'm going to serve, since the omelet is so rich, I'm going to serve it with a very simple salad. It's romaine lettuce with cherry tomatoes, and then in the center I have roasted beets and red onion. And the way I prepared the beets was I got some fresh beets at the market, peeled them, wrapped them in foil, and then cooked them on a lined baking sheet at 425 for about 30 minutes until they were fork tender. And then took them out, and once they were cooled, I sliced them. And really, if you haven't tried roasted beets, I really recommend that you do. The flavor is, infinitely better than just canned beets. And to accompany the salad, I've made a very simple vinaigrette. And what I have in here is half a cup of olive oil, quarter cup of balsamic vinegar, 2 teaspoons of Dijon mustard, a teaspoon of honey, and 1 chopped garlic clove. To that, I'm going to add salt and pepper. just a pinch of salt, and just a couple grinds of black pepper. That's good. And now what I'm going to do is put this cover, which is a vacuum sealed cover, on this container, and I'm basically just going to shake it up to emulsify the oil and the vinegar and the mustard until it becomes a slightly thickened salad dressing. There. As you can see, that has really thickened up nicely. So, now we come to dessert. So, again, the omelet with the potatoes and the bacon is very rich. So, what we want to do is have something sweet but light for dessert. So, what I have done is, in this bowl, I have washed and cut up some fresh strawberries, raspberries, and blueberries. And I'm going to add that to this pan. To that, I'm going to add the juice of 1 lemon. A cup of water. Teaspoon of vanilla. Shake or 2 of ground cinnamon. And finally, a tablespoon of honey. And I'm just going to give that a quick stir. So I'm giving the berries a quick stir, just to combine all those ingredients. And then I'm basically going to let this stew like I would a jam on medium heat until the berries break down and are tender. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to serve really just those stewed berries with a nice dollop of some Narragansett Creamery whole milk yogurt. You don't really need ice cream for this. It's actually delicious with the yogurt. And I'm still on my Lenten sugar fast, so no ice cream. It's been 10 minutes, so it's time to check on our omelet. And as you can see, it is puffed up beautifully. And I can tell by shaking the pan that it is set in the center. So I'm going to take it out, obviously. And, you know, moment of truth time. We'll give it a taste. perfectly cooked. Mm. 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 That is so delicious. Mm. It is really, really good. Mm. Mm. That is so delicious. I'm going to break off a piece of bruschetta and just give that a try. Mmm. Crunchy, obviously. Just the right amount of salt. The flavor of the garlic comes right through. That is delicious. Mm. All right, well, I'm going to plate up my dinner now while it's hot, and I will check back in with you in a bit to check on our berries. One thing I forgot to mention, it is very easy to make a vegetarian version of that omelet. Instead of sauteing the bacon and then the potatoes, here I have just some very simple sauteed red peppers and spinach. And what I did was I sauteed the red peppers in a tablespoon of olive oil until they were tender, and then added some chopped fresh spinach and cooked that for really about 5 minutes, just until it was wilted. And then added a teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of pepper, mix that together and put it to one side. So what I would do, if I were making a vegetarian version of the omelet, is I would take my egg mixture, I would melt the same tablespoon of butter into the pan, I would add the egg, and then I would sprinkle the pepper and spinach mixture on top, cook that on top of the stove for 2 minutes, and then into the oven at 350 degrees for 10 minutes. And then you have a really delicious vegetarian version of the omelet. The fruit is cooked down, and as you can see, it's really cooked down to like a quarter of its volume when we first put it in. And it's beautiful. It's nice and thick. It's got a really gorgeous, almost jewel tone to it. Really like a loose preserve, or really it's a berry sauce. And then I'm just going to spoon some of the berry sauce over it. And that's all there is to it. So, moment of truth time. Just going to get some sauce and a little bit of yogurt. All right. Mm. Mm. It's delicious. And the creaminess of the yogurt with the brightness of the fruit. Mm. It's not overly sweet at all. And it's just a really healthy alternative to your average dessert. So I'm going to keep eating this. And that's all for tonight. Thanks for watching.